Pooran, first of all, if you could explain to me a little bit about One Planet Living, the project you're working on.
Yes, One Planet Living is really an idea or a framework for helping us live within a fair share of the Earth's resources. So we know from ecological footprinting that we're consuming many more resources each year than the planet can sustain into the long term. And we've created a way of making it easy for people to engage in creating product services or eco-communities where people can lead happy and healthy lives, but within a fairer share of the Earth's resources.
And you set an example, I understand, at your headquarters in South London. Can you explain that to me?
Yes, back in the late 1990s when we needed new offices, we looked for a site for that, but in fact we're offered a site by our local authority to build a whole eco-community, which now has 100 homes and office space for about 100 people as well, and that's where I live and where our offices are.
What makes it an eco-community?
So the buildings are very energy efficient, then we have renewable energy supply, we've made recycling easy, we've reduced car parking, and we have a car club instead, so it's easy for people to live without a car. And we organise things like local organic food deliveries. So it's a whole sustainable lifestyle, a whole One Planet lifestyle.
Okay, an example, a model you hope that can be exported elsewhere?
Yes, we've been working with developers and local government around the world. So we have been working in the US, in China, in Portugal, in Australia, and in South Africa as well.
Could you give me a specific example of a project or projects you've worked on where you've tried to implement One Planet Living?
Yes, I mean, of course, using our eco-community BedZ as an example, we've worked here in South Africa, for example, with Tongaat Hewlett developments on a proposed development of about 5,000 homes or so in Durban, which will adopt all the One Planet principles.
Okay, thank you very much. I mean, Sarah, perhaps you could explain a little bit more about the project you've got running in Durban.
Yes. The way the One Planet Communities program is structured is we have 10 principles of sustainability, and for the Sabaya development, for example, we've developed a One Planet action plan which goes into detail about how each of these 10 principles are going to be met at this particular site in north of Durban.
Can you explain a little bit, what does this site look like? I'm trying to get a picture in my mind of what it looks like and how it functions.
Currently, it is sugarcane. It's currently land that's used for sugarcane, and they now are it's being rezoned to residential land. So it's just lovely rolling hills, really. But the sugarcane industry is more profitable elsewhere, and so the land is being made available for new housing.
And what other projects do you have? You work specifically on South Africa. What other projects do you have working in South Africa? Well,
most immediately, as a prototype to this large-scale Sabaya development, next year we are building with a developer, Steeden Developments, a One Planet show home, and that's again going to be north of Durban on Umhlanga Ridge. That's going to be one home which will demonstrate, it'll be used as an exhibition centre and show home, and again will demonstrate the 10 principles and how an ordinary person in their day-to-day life can strive to achieve the targets of One Planet Living as imbued by these 10 principles.
One Planet Living, it sounds like a wonderful universal concept, but presumably you also have to incorporate local traditions, local architecture, local ways of going about daily living. How do you do that?
Well, the principles go from things like zero carbon, so running the buildings completely from renewable energy, but they also include other principles like culture and community. So we do look at how local culture can be integrated into these communities, how we can use local materials, and how we can make them locally distinctive, and also create a new culture of sustainability as well.
Okay, so it sounds like universal principles that can be applied across the board, but presumably you also have to take into account local customs, local materials, local ways of going about daily living.
That is correct. I mean, the principles include things like zero carbon, running the buildings completely from renewable energy, two principles like culture and community. So we look at how we can include the best of the local culture, use local materials, local art, local food, and to create not just a community which looks back at traditional culture, but also creates a new culture of sustainability.